Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also rise to thank the Chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, together with the members of the committee, for a job well done. Madam Speaker, I really appreciate this committee because as Vice Chair to Education Committee, I take note that all the proposals we were having as a committee to the Budget Committee, all of them were incorporated to the advantage of the education sector. Madam Speaker, I also want to appreciate the fact that the government is taking seriously the education sector for what it is to this country. Because when you look at the budget, the education sector has taken the most huge part of it, which is accounting for 24% of the total budget. Madam Speaker, we have, as Education Committee, we have key areas which we have prioritized in terms of budgeting, and these are the following, which have been taken care of properly by the Budget Committee. This is provision of resources to support the free primary and secondary education, as well as junior secondary school education, schools infrastructure improvement to support CBC, funding to various universities, resources to help to support students in both universities and TVET institutions, and expansion of the basic TVET and universities infrastructure, and recruitment of teachers and TVET instructors. Madam Speaker, when we look at the education sector budget, it is also well aligned to the bottom-up economic transformation agenda of the government, and this actually accounts for 35.5 billion. And the priorities in this particular area, Madam Speaker, are the following: construction of 52 TTIs, construction of integrated resource centers, and construction of junior secondary school classrooms, and junior secondary school learners capitation, Madam Speaker, which was an issue in the previous financial year. So, Madam Speaker, the Education Committee noted some key areas that require concrete policy direction for future funding and proper and seamless flow of activities in the education sector. Madam Speaker, when it comes to the Teacher Service Commission, as reported, there was a hue and cry about the junior secondary school interns. We are reporting here that we had actually a proposal to the Budget Committee that all the interns who are numbering to 46,000, all of them must be converted into permanent and pensionable employment. Madam Speaker, this has been factored in, taken care of. We have, however, allocated another 20. We proposed also for an allocation of 4.7 billion to continue with the interns in the country, so as to bridge the gap that's there in terms of teaching of junior secondary schools. And the coming financial year will recruit about 20,000, which was our proposal. This will be in line with actually bridging the gap that's there in teaching. Madam Speaker, I would report that it was very interesting that there was demonstrations, and as even these demonstrations were going on because of incitement left and right, the Education Committee had already taken care of this fact, and maybe it's just to assure all those who will be taken on internship not to make any noise, not to go on streets, because this is now provided for that when you are intern, after a particular period of time, you will be converted into permanent pensionable. The only thing that we are requesting the TSC to do is to ensure that there's a legal framework on the program of internship in our schools, whether it's to take 1 year or to take 2 years before absorption. Madam Speaker, I also thank the committee for giving it to our requests for 1 billion for promotion of teachers. You recall this ending financial year, there was promotion of teachers, but majority of the teachers who were to be promoted were not promoted because of the constraint of funding. So this year there's 1 billion that will take care of those teachers who are not promoted. And Madam Speaker, what we have to note is that most of the teachers stagnate in one job group for a very long time, over 15 years. Maybe we will need a policy on this when it comes to promotion, so that this is not actually held back because of funding as it's happening currently. Madam Speaker, in the area of TVET, you are aware, we are aware as members that each and every constituent must have a TVET. We have also, the budget committee, through our proposal, some good money was allocated to ensure that all constituencies now have TVET. However, we want to note as a committee that there are some delays in implementation of these projects. For example, in this financial year, we have about 14 TTIs that have not been implemented simply because of delays in tendering processes in our government systems. So this maybe will require the attention of the government, the ministry, to fast track this particular process. Madam Speaker, there also has been an allocation of some good money, 2.7 billion, for infrastructure in our junior secondary schools. This money, maybe members have to note, it will be coming through CDF, our constituency offices. The only thing that maybe has to be worked on is to ensure that there is proper collaboration between the Ministry of Planning, the Department of Planning and Basic Education, and of course the CDF boards, to ensure that there is seamless implementation of this project in our schools, because as much as we began this particular process, we have not received, for example, money. For the last financial year, money has not yet hit the accounts of CDF offices to commence this particular process of construction of infrastructure in our schools. Madam Speaker, we also note here that we were also so surprised on Education Committee during the estimates that came from Treasury, which actually had struck off a feeding program in our schools. We pushed through this, and I want to thank the Budget Committee for actually taking into this and restoring this as per our proposal. So, Madam Speaker, we as Education Committee want to assure Kenyans and the general population and these members that we are really keen on what's happening in the country in terms of, in view of our education in our country, education standards in our country, and considering that most persons now have taking their children to school, we want to assure the country that we will continue fighting and ensuring that all is well in our education sector, in spite of a few hitches here and there, as we move on with the new funding model, even at the universities. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, I support.